A group of heroes is headed into the dark forest on a mission to liberate their home. They are prepared to defeat the forest's dark beasts because they all wield regalia, weapons with supernatural power. However, the second they arrive, their driver gets heated into oblivion by one of the dark beasts. Everyone else springs into action, and their leader, Steven, orders everyone to get information as they make a charge straight into the dark beast den. The cutlass user begins slicing up all the monsters in his path with his whirlwind technique, and Steven uses his blade to slice the heads off a giant snake monster he was fighting. However, even with his head severed, the snake keeps trying to bite Steven, but at the last second Alicia is able to stop it by piercing its eye with her sword to finish it off. So far the team has been doing pretty well, and now that all the weak monsters in the area have been dealt with, the team ventures deeper into the cave to track down the Beast Lord of the South. They eventually arrive at the center of the cave and come face to face with Clevatess of the Moonlight. And you know it's going to be bad when the monster has an aura farming entrance. Everyone can feel the intensity coming from the beast, but Stefan is confident that he and his team can overcome anything with the power of friendship. Never mind, friendship isn't going to save them here. After seeing Clevatess paint the wall with Steven's blood, I'd be questioning whether being a hero was even worth it. But the tank seems to think he can do better, so he jumps into the air to attack it, but he's almost immediately beheaded mid-air. The others are finally starting to realize that they don't stand a chance in direct battle, but it's too late for them to retreat or regroup because Clevatess has begun picking them off one by one with its tail. The others are confused because they can't figure out how Clevatess is getting to them so quickly, but Alicia realizes that the tail attacks are coming from their shadows, so she tells everyone to jump to create some distance from the shadow. Thanks to her quick thinking, she manages to pair the beast's attack and survive, but the others aren't so lucky. One of the surviving heroes jams his spear into the ground to summon an earth golem. But you in the ground here is under the control of Clevatess, so the hero can't continue his golem and several tail spikes emerge from the ground and slice him up. The lance user tries to charge forward and overpower Clevatess, but while the dude is fighting for his life over here, Clevatess is casually wondering how things as weak as humans manage to get into his lair. He then finishes off the rest of the heroes to the only one left alive is Alice, who has been flying around with her sword to avoid getting hit. She finally gets close enough to Clevatess's face to hit him, but her strongest attack barely scratches him. Meanwhile, Clevatess is still deep in thought because he can't fathom the stupidity that led humans to attack his land when he hasn't had beef with them for over 1,000 years. But if they're going to keep bothering him like this, then he's going to need to come up with a more permanent solution. But first, he has to deal with Alice. So he slashes her limbs off and sends her falling to her doom. A little while later, Clevatess crash lands in the human kingdom and he's here with vengeance on his mind. He was perfectly fine leaving the human kingdom alone as long as they had minded their business, but they just had to go trying to conquer his land. From what the heroes said before the fight, they were sent to fight by the king of Hayden, so he's going to need to have a word with him about this. The kingdom's archers are alerted to the threat, so they show up and take aim at Clevatess, but unsurprisingly, those arrows do absolutely no damage. But despite the clear power difference, they continue attacking like it's going to do something. Clevatess is just here for the king, so he was initially going to ignore all the other humans. But since they are attacking him now, he slaughters them all on his way to the castle. The castle guards begin prepping the rest of their defenses and aim their catapults at Clevatess, but their weapons still have no effect on him. So Clevatess rips through the castle walls with ease. Inside the castle, one of the guards goes to warn the king of Clevatess' attack. But the king already heard all the crashing sounds, so he pretty much knows what happened. The heroes, he said, must have failed to kill Clevatess because the weapons of Hayden weren't strong enough yet. He realizes that Clevatess is most likely here for him, so there would be no point in fleeing now because Clevatess would just hunt him down. However, even if he is going to end up dying, the king wants to seal off the forge so the flames of Hayden are never extinguished. Meanwhile, Clevatess is outside and he is wondering why the humans here are so pitiful compared to the heroes that attacked him. At first he thought it might have been some kind of special training, but after the castle's guards fire hiding metal ballistas at him, he realizes that their strength was in their weapons. Thinking back, even though it didn't do much damage, the sword Alicia used to slash his horn actually left a mark which shouldn't have been possible. Even if humans are nothing more than insects to him, an insect with a stinger can still be dangerous, so Clevatess plans to get to the bottom of this. At the same time, down in the depths of the castle, the king goes to check on the forge of Hayden, but suddenly the walls around him begin to shake. So he realizes Clevatess must be nearby and hurriedly seal the forge off. Moments later, Clevatess rips the roof off the castle, and as soon as he spots the king, he calls him out. The king tries to act unfazed and tells Clevatess that he has no right to speak to him like that. However, Clevatess warns the king to watch his tone because he could kill all humans in an instant. And not just the people of Haydn either. He could go after the people of the neighboring kingdoms as well. He could have killed the king by now, but even if he did that, another king would eventually pop up and disturb Clevatess his land again. So he's giving the king of Haydn one chance to explain himself. He wants to know why he ordered those heroes to attack him, but instead of actually explaining the reason, the king practically spits in Clevatess' face, saying a beast like him could never understand human ambition. Clevatess has heard all he needs to hear, so he slices the king's head off and begins making plans to wipe all humans from the face of the earth. However, as he is walking out of the destroyed city, he comes across a baby crying after its mother had been crushed under some falling debris. Clevatess feels no sympathy for it whatsoever, so he decides to keep walking. But then the baby's mother calls out to him and asks Clevatess to save her baby. Clevatess is a bit stunned by the mother's bold request, so he reminds her that he was the one who brought ruin to this kingdom, and he has even decided to wipe out all humans. So why would he want to save a human child? The mother understands his point, but regardless of what the adults may have done to deserve Clevatess' wrath, she insists that the baby has done nothing to deserve such a fate. Clevatess doesn't see the point in arguing about the baby's innocence, since all humans are the same to him, but he's willing to play along, so he asks the mother if she can prove the baby's worth to him. The mother knows she won't be able to prove anything to Clevatess, especially since she's going to die soon. But she swears that if Clevatess agrees to save the baby, he will eventually discover its worth on his own. The mother dies shortly after, and Clevatess walks off completely unfazed, but he does end up coming back for the baby, so the mother's speech must have gotten through to him. He still isn't entirely sure if it's a good idea to take this baby, but compared to his long lifespan, a human child's life is barely noticeable, so he's willing to look after for the sake of curiosity. In the land of Edsea, there are 5 humanoid races. First are the Duns, a large kingdom with skilled architecture. The next are the Orgites, a kingdom of people who excel in hunting and medicine. The Slatons, aquatic people skilled in swimming and fishing. The Benti, barbaric people who are strong individually but couldn't cooperate if their lives depended on it. And finally, Haydn's kingdom. Or rather, there was the kingdom of Haydn because it's gone now. They were the oldest of the humanoid races and had great skill when it came to forging weapons, which is how the blades of Haydn were made. There's a lot more to the world than just Edsea. But beyond the continent's borders, it is surrounded by darkness on all sides. This darkness is where the dark beasts live and the 4 dark beasts lords, one of which is Clevatess. So humans have never set foot outside Edsea. Back at Clevatess' cave, he brought the baby back with him, and after scaring all the beasts to make sure none of them eat him, he curls up next to the child to rest. But now he's not sure what to do with him. He can give him some of his energy to keep him strength up so he doesn't have to worry about dying anytime soon. But the baby is currently covered in poop. Clevatess did not sign up to deal with this, so he picks the baby up and drops him into a pit of spiders without a second thought. The baby immediately starts crying, and I probably would too if I was surrounded by spiders, but Clevatess assures him that he's safe. The spiders in that pit only eat poops, so if he dropped him in there to get cleaned up, but that doesn't make it any less scary. Even after he pulls him up, he keeps asking, and Clevatess is tired of the wailing. But as a dark beast lord, he can't go back on his decision. So he's going to have to see this through to the end. But to make sure the baby survives, he's going to need a human to look after it. So he walks over to the heroes he killed to see if any of them can be useful. Moments later, Alicia wakes up and finds herself staring at the sky, but she clearly remembers getting killed. So she wonders if this is the afterlife. However, once she sees Clevatess, she realizes she's still in his cave. She instinctively grabs her sword, but Clevatess says he threw all the weapons and her allies' bodies into the ravine. However, she looked like she'd be useful, so he decided to revive her. Today, Alicia is a walking corpse, only moving because of his dark energy. But that's enough explaining for now. So he tells Alicia to make herself useful and give him some milk. She hadn't realized what Clevatess had asked, but he wasn't joking. And this isn't a request either because he really needs that milk. So he uses his powers to force Alicia to comply. However, after several minutes of suckling, Clevatess finally realizes this isn't working. Alicia tells him it obviously wouldn't work because she's never had a baby before and she doesn't understand why someone like Clevatess would even want to keep a baby alive in the first place. Clevatess doesn't intend to explain his reason to her, but since Alicia can't provide milk, he is going to need her to be useful in other ways. The baby won't die as long as Clevatess keeps giving it energy, but it will be perpetually hungry. So he asks Alicia if there's any other way to get milk. Alicia can't disobey Clevatess' command, so she tells him that you will need to hire a nursing mother to feed the baby. But to do that, you would have to go to a human town. And with his current form, he's guaranteed to cause a panic. So he decides to take a human form so he can blend in. He doesn't have much to go off, so he decides to take the form of the baby's mother and says he will be called Kren. Well, the baby's name will be Luna. Kren orders Alicia to lead the way to the nearest village, but first she must wash Luna's blanket. But while she's washing it, she realizes the blanket has the Haydn royal crest on it. Meanwhile, back in what's left of Haydn, the news of what happened has spread, so a scout was sent to inspect the damage. You can't believe that a single dark beast was able to cause all this destruction, but this is exactly why he thought it would be too reckless to attack one of the beast lords. And the timing couldn't have been worse because the day of the attack was the day the crown princess was supposed to flee the kingdom with her son. Back by the river, Alicia confronts Kren and asks if he knew that Luna was from the royal family when he took the baby. Kren has no idea what she's talking about, so Alicia points out that the cloth Luna was wrapped and had the royal emblem on it, and only members of the royal family can use it. Now that Kren thinks about it, the wound he got Luna from was crushed under the rubble of the castle, so it makes sense that Luna would be a member of the royal family. But that doesn't really change Kren's plans. Alicia asks what he means by rubble of the castle, so Kren will only tells her that he destroyed Haydn and killed the king last night. Alicia can't believe Haydn was really destroyed, but Kren reminds her that they were the ones who attacked him first. Kren doesn't think it's a big deal, but Alicia says it's a really big deal because if Kren really wiped out, Haydn and Luna must be the last member of the royal family, and that means tons of people are going to be coming after him. Kren asked why, so Alicia explains that only members of the Haydn royal family are able to use the special forging techniques used to make the Haydn weapons, but immediately after she says that, she realizes she gave away too much information. Kren hadn't considered what to do with Luna until now, but if he's that important, he'll make him human king. In this manner, Kren would have complete control over everything from a distance, and if humans stray too far from the path, they would be permanently destroyed. But right now, they still need to get some milk for Luna, so he tells Alicia to get moving. Alicia doesn't know why Kren is so attached to Luna, but she knows he would kill everyone on the continent if anything happened to him. So Alicia needs to protect him at all costs. I appreciate you viewing my anime recap, Unruly Family. Please let me know what you think about this anime recap by liking, sharing, and commenting, and please subscribe to the channel to help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Take you out.